Joining us is Anton Barbashin. He's Editorial Director of the news website magazine Riddle Russia. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Paris. First off, your reaction there, you heard Vladimir Putin saying that Russia's not going to be violating any UN sanctions when it comes to North Korea.
Well, look, I mean, the words play a significant role in trying to frame Russia's policy for domestic audience. Mostly, I don't think this should be treated any way that you treat other things that Putin say, as I've said lately.
So what are you saying? There's not going to be a deal for ammunition in exchange for military
We don't know
technology?
that yet. I mean, look, there are no details. We know that they want shells, they want some North Korean labor, but so far there's not been enough substantial proof that actually it is in the making.
And ordinary Russians, what do they make of all this?
Look, North Korea has been a rogue state for a while, and Russians know that North Korea is not the best example. It's not the best friend you want to be kind of acquainted to. So the Russian propaganda is actually, like on the expert level, is downplaying the importance of this collaboration, because North Korea is a country you go to last. We have no other options, nowhere to go to.
And the Russian media, you've been talking about them. Of course, there's still a Russian independent media. A lot of it is in exile. And we have seen reports surfacing in the last couple of days about Pegasus spyware affecting most notably the news outlet Meduza. Pegasus is this Israeli-made software where you can spy on people's phones without them knowing about it. Your reaction to that story?
That's just sad. That's bad, because we know for a fact that Russia has no access to Pegasus, so whoever was interested in spying on those journalists most likely is EU-based.
Now, these journalists, all of them, there are two cases that are confirmed, and they're both telephones out of the Baltic states, Latvia.
Yeah.
But we don't know whether it happened in Germany. We don't know where they were infected, those phones.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's unclear so far, but I mean, investigative journalists are pretty good and getting in detail, so I think we'll know it pretty soon.
Where do your suspicions lie?
I don't know. I don't want to put my guess. Maybe it's the Baltic governments. They have a sort of suspicion towards the numerous Russian exiles that come into their countries. They fear that some of them might be linked to security services, which is bogus, because these journalists who have been pushed out of Russia, some of them were poisoned, and some of them, ended up dead or in prison in Russia.
Anton Barbashin, what is the state for independent media in Russia right now? For instance, at Riddle Russia, are you getting more viewers, or is it basically the clicks coming from inside your echo chamber, shall we say?
Well, it's slightly problematic for us because we were blocked in April of 2022. In December, Riddle was recognized an undesirable organization. So basically sharing our content is criminally punishable. We do still get clicks from Russia, people that use VPNs and other services, but it's very hard to track them. But again, for the Russian independent media, this couple of years has been horrible. There are none of them left in the country, but plenty do still survive from out of EU, from some other regions as well.
And when you see that the slow progress on the battlefield by the Ukrainians, what's the prognosis? What's the outlook like?
Well, it looks like the war is going to go well into 2024, maybe 2025. I mean, it's hard to make any prognosis. We don't know exactly the details of the planning, the amount of resources. For the Russian part, it is clear that the Russian economy is moving more and more into the direction of kind of military economy, adding basically new factories, new capacities to produce more tanks, more guns. But the problem is people. Mobilization is hugely unpopular in Russian society, so it's very hard for the Russian military to recruit new men for war.
Hard to recruit, but judging by history, Russia's used to having a military economy.
Well, not necessarily this one. The economy that Putin has built was made to make money. I mean, the juice of the economy is corruption. I mean, we've seen that many times in the course of this war, that a lot of the things that were supposed to be working were not working. Generally speaking, the number of rich Russians you have across the board is kind of indicative what this economy was about. It was not planned for war, and it's very hard to restructure it in the way that would be functional long term.
But it sounds like those oligarchs you allude to are kind of expendable.
They are, of course they are. All of them are. I mean, it's a crazy dream of one person in the Kremlin who sees himself as a new Russian quasi-emperor who thinks he's, getting all those lands and he's going to be in the books forever. But the economy, the people who manage the economy are kind of managing a crisis daily, and it's having its toll, essentially, on all of them.
Tell us about your daily work at Riddle Russia. What do you, Anton Barbashin, how do you go about these days getting opinions from that other side of the divide?
Well, this year, essentially, this decade is so full of technologies that allow us still to communicate from people within Telegram, the network that operates. We have still people who cover some of the stories from Russia. We mostly work with analysts and academics who then interpret that information. Some of them work in or around Russia. I would say majority are already out of Russia. It's hard, of course. The biggest challenge here is, looking at so much information, so much details, so much data to actually figure out which of that set is actually worth analyzing, worth developing into a story. But we're fortunate to have a strong team of committed analysts and experts.
And as a Russian visiting Paris, your thoughts on the resolve of Ukraine's allies as we head into what's going to be an election season here in Europe? There's EU elections taking place, and of course over in the United States with the presidential race.
Look, Ukraine clearly needs more arms. It's a question that has been a number one question since day one. I mean, the only way to end this war is to make Ukrainians win on their territory. And so they need more supplies, they need more money. I get it that it's a problematic topic for some of the European countries, but there's no way out of it. I mean, Ukraine has to get more arms, more supplies to stand their ground.
And are you feeling that resolve wavering, starting to perhaps start to waver, or is it still as strong as it was 18 months ago, 19 months ago?
It's a good question. I mean, there are various signals we can interpret, but looking at sheer numbers, it's more than some would have expected in the beginning of the war. It's certainly less than Ukrainians want, but it's still not nothing. I mean, they are very reliant on Western supplies of arms. So far, they are capable of defending their territory to a certain degree, not allowing Russians to destroy Ukraine as a state.
All right. I want to thank you so much, Anton Barbashin, Editorial Director of Riddle Russia, for stopping by and seeing us.
Thank you.